Hello there, you darling 111ers, and welcome to week 2. I'm looking forward to looking at all of your intro materials and getting to know everybody. I had a chance a few minutes ago to start looking at English 045's work, and I'm just loving some of the mamas that I have representing in this class. And I've got a lot of people coming back to school for the first time, going into nursing, transferring. And so, welcome, and especially welcome to those of you who are parents who are just trying to do the best you can. I have an 8 and a 12-year-old, and so my kids are at camp right now, luckily, but just for this week. So, um, anyway, let's go ahead and get started so that y'all can get to work on the week. So I want to make sure that I'm clear. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start with our main page. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So for this week, I'm going to have this video posted right up at the top there for you. But just so that you are aware, so this week we're going to be going fairly quickly through some literacy narrative models and then also starting to develop your ideas for Essay 1. So what we're focusing on is how writing enacts and creates identities and ideologies, and we're going to use writing as a social tool this week. So your readings in the 7th edition. Make sure that you read Mother Tongue by Amy Tan, and it's a Moodle link down below. And then look at the section on literacy narratives, which is in the Norton, page 93 to 103. And then use the chapter Generating Ideas and Text and Describing. And then De La Pena, sometimes the tough teen is quietly writing stories, and most deaf's hip hop on page 951. So what you also need to do is we're going to go over the Essay 1 assignment, and we're going to annotate Search for My Tongue as part of that. And then we're going to post about the theme for English B and do a writing workshop to develop your voice for Essay 1. So those are our objectives and our agenda for today. So let's get rocking and rolling. Okay. So I'm going to go into a couple of things in more detail. The Essay 1 instructions I'm going to be going over in just a moment. What I've got posted here are resources. So I'm going to go through the personal narrative slides, and then here are the readings for the week. They're the same ones that are posted on the main page. And then some additional resources: how to format a college paper, basics of college writing, and then some additional guidance on annotating text, a quick guide, since that's something that I require as part of our online community. And then I've got also some video resources on showing, not telling, for a complete writing guide. So these are all resources here. And so these are all like readings and resources. You will not be tested on these, but these are resources. So here are the tasks for the week. We are going to do a writing workshop for Essay 1. We're going to have a conversation about Mother Tongue and Quiet Teen is quietly writing stories. And then we're going to annotate a text that focuses on a deep dive into literacy narratives and techniques. Okay, so that's how we're going to move this week along. So let's start with an overview of Essay. Okay. So if you are in English 045, I'm going to go over this again. And so like you can speed through it if you need to. But Essay 1, the focus of Essay 1 is to develop your own like sense of narrative identity and your own sense of style and voice as a writer. So you're going to write about who you are and what you believe and how it influences how you see the world around you. We're going to use these mentor texts. So these are all readings for this week. and we're going to use them as mentor texts. So as you read, you're going to consider, how do the writers blend story and reflection? What role does language, culture, and identity play in the narratives? And how do they help the reader understand something deeply personal? So, what you're going to be asked to do here is write a narrative essay in which you explore how an interest, skill, or aspect of your identity has shaped the way you see the world. Okay, and so this is going to be a personal story. So you may use I and personal pronouns, but you should think through what has shaped the way you see the world. How do you experience being an insider or outsider? And how has learning and discovery helped you grow? And so, what I'm looking for is that you write a decent sized piece of about 500 words, that you're looking at engaging the senses. I'm also looking that you include a quote from a mentor text, Langston Hughes, or from De La Pena. And so I want to see that incorporation of evidence as well as that clear sense of organization, clear structure, and then your use of very distinct uh, literary techniques or diction choices. All right, and so here is how you're going to be graded. Be graded on personal voice and original sense of voice, no AI slop. I want to see self awareness. I want to hear the authenticity behind it. I'm going to hear this personal story as vivid and engaging, and then the narrative reflection incorporated there. This should feel deeply personal, but you don't necessarily have to share like things that are too uncomfortable for you to share. But like, I shouldn't, like, there cannot be a robot that could do this because this is yours. I'm also looking for you to incorporate those mentor text pieces that we've read this week, and that you have a clear sense of organization and structure, and then descriptive language, and you meet the requirements for formatting. And this is at the bottom. So those are the details for essay number 1. Okay, so as we move through, here's the next one we're going to be looking at. And so we're going to look at the search for my tongue annotations. Okay. And so because writing is a social activity, what you're going to be doing here is you're going to look at a specific piece that is about narrative identity and the idea of like a tongue and a sense of like descriptive language. And even though this is a poem, what we're looking at here is how language is shaping the speaker's sense of self. So you're going to be thinking about how you see your sense of self, and you can use poetic elements if it helps you develop that sense of your own ideas. Okay. And so moving along. Okay. So the next piece that we're going to look into, good search for my tongues, annotation, did that. Okay. So then this is your opportunity once you've read the text to have a discussion, an online discussion about the origin stories of voice, and writing about how you can pull some of those ideas into your interpretation. So these are informative and reflective, but what I want you to do is I want you to choose at least 2 prompts that ask you to analyze texts and 2 prompts that connect to your own life. And everyone completes the short closing reflection. So here are the clusters that you're working with. Okay, cluster 1, origin stories. 2 is language and power. 3 is mentorship. And cluster 4 is your own literacy story. And you can kind of pick what works and brainstorm and get ideas flowing about your own literacy narrative with your colleagues in your class. And the last thing that we're doing for this week to develop this literacy narrative is you're going to print this out, either that or you need to download it and annotate the text. But the annotating, and you're going to mark the structure here. Okay, that's looking for sentences that show significance, starring the moments that are vivid, sensory, and anything that tells a story instead of showing the story. And so, and in the margins, you don't have to write anything in depth, but like on notes, evaluate the strengths, the weaknesses, and I want you to practice this section, which is below. There are 3 sentences a revisor might add. For each one, decide exactly where it would belong and explain why it strengthens the narrative. Okay, so then at the end of this, like and again, this can all be like handwritten. This can all be like little process notes, nothing formal. But I want to know what you learned about strong literacy narratives, and what do you want to avoid, and how are you going to apply what you learned with the Essay One draft. And so we're kind of working on annotating, we're working on developing our ideas, and then we're also working socially with like Search for My Tongue. So I hope that you all have an amazing week, and that that you get like as much out of this essay as I hope that you do. You haven't written it yet, but this is the brainstorming. So as we're developing our ideas, here are some slides to kind of help walk you through like what to do in like when you're writing a literacy narrative. Okay, so here we go. So seeing the world through my story. So your essay, your piece, it's going to see how you see the world as a whole based on like your belief, skill, or part of who you are. Your language defines your identity, which also defines your own sense of story. So, like thinking about Amy Tan and how she's growing up between mother's vivid English and the English of school, and kind of what that feels like being caught between. So, here's an example. So, like when you're looking at Mother Tongue, there's a little intro to the Guide to Lit where it says that she reflects on the many Englishes she lived in, her mother's expressive, unfiltered speech, and the polished English of school and work. She comes to see her mother's language not as broken but as rich, and she claims to be the voice of her own writing. So, as you read these, read all 3 like a writer: Amy Tan, De La Pena, and Langston Hughes. And so think about how they blend story, how they blend reflection, and what role culture, language, and identity play. And how could you then use those techniques? So remember how you annotate. So remember that when you're annotating, think about reflecting, evaluating, connecting, and analyzing. Show, don't tell. So I read the same sentence 4 times. My pencil is damp. Print on the page is more descriptive than I was nervous on my first day. Engage the senses. And then here is a TED Ed lesson by Nalo Hopkinson that I want you to watch. It gives you some ideas of how to go about this. Okay, so voice lives in your choices. So voice, diction, selection of detail, and tone. Hi. Okay. And there's a little bit more on here, but it looks like we're going to have to wrap it up for today. So just here are the requirements for the essay. Review these slides in more detail as you go, and good luck on the rest of the week. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.